guys working hard. I love it. Man, day 3 after lunch. Stretch run, baby. Survival of the fittest in this room right now. Seriously. You guys just went hard for 2 days. I know some of y'all went out last night. You're crazy. I'm way too old for that now. I can tell you one thing. I feel like I'm about to go to heaven. You know how you see the bright lights they talk about? Holy cow, this is what it is right now. Man, you guys know I came up on stage last night. I think that alone was worth it. You're like, heaven, here I am. I knew how to find the place. It's in Orlando. Anyway, so we're going to talk about crypto, change it up a little bit after all that real estate talk. But it's going to tie in a little bit because a lot of the reasons for crypto are a lot of the reasons for real estate and every other asset. And, the thing I hear most about crypto, or the question I get most is, I don't understand what gives it value. And I'm like, well, that's a multi-tiered explanation that's going to take a while. But the simplest thing is people give it value. Kind of like everything else, right? It's worth what someone will pay for it. And part of that is, scarcity, right? Limit of supply. And one of the beautiful things about Bitcoin in particular is you have what is called people that hodl. Has anyone heard hodl before? All right, so you might know what it means. It's basically an acronym for what was a typo about a decade ago when Bitcoin was about sub $100. Some guy was getting all angry, people talking about selling. He's like, I don't care what you guys are doing. I'm going to hold. And he transposed 2 letters, and hodl was born. So people had fun with it, as the crypto community does, because it's kind of a bunch of jokesters. That's probably why I fit in. And hold on for dear life became like the battle cry for Bitcoin. So the hodl gang, as it's called, hodl gang, is one of the reasons that Bitcoin has value. I mean, is it a great financial fundamental reason? No, but it is one of the reasons, and it's going to factor in when we talk about, a limited supply and the scarcity of Bitcoin. But we need to embrace the hodl gang and realize how much fun they bring to crypto. So what we're going to do, especially now that it's post-lunch and everyone's probably half asleep. I don't know about you guys, man. After a big meal, it's just like, night, night. So get on your feet because we're about to have some fun. We're going to jam out. We're going to learn a little crypto, but while we do it, we're going to hear a little crypto hip-hop and hear the hodl gang. So I want to see everyone's hips shaking with me. I'm going to do my best to grease these things up, not as young as I used to be, and we're going to have some fun. So, Mr. Phil, sir, can you cue that track?
Bitcoin and things like it is the equivalent of the red pill.
This is a technology, it's a computing language, and I can build an app on it.
Is Bitcoin the currency of the future?
Crypto gang, the game, big gang, all gang, light gang, cash game, blockchain, whoa. I don't really ever buy stocks, man. No. Haters wanna say I'm in a bubble, man. No. Chew them up like bubble gum. No. Just made a meal with my pocket change. No. Wreck about to go and join the hodl gang. Hodl gang, hodl gang, hodl gang. Crypto gang, the game, big gang, all gang, light gang, cash game, blockchain, whoa. I don't really ever buy stocks, man. No. Haters wanna say I'm in a bubble, man. No. Chew them up like bubble gum. No. Just made a meal with my pocket change. No. Wreck about to go and join the hodl gang. Hodl gang, hodl gang, hodl gang. Ethereum pays for my rent. Bitcoin pays for the vent. Litecoin pays for the jet. Bitcoin cash for the rest. Spent 30 racks on an ICO. What coin did you buy? I forgot, yo. Just got started last night, bro. And I'm already like a pipe though. Flipping a coin, making it grow, taking it slow, letting it go. Cash flow's growing, it's incredible to watch it flow. Stacking the cash, taking it home, making it fast. I'm on a roll, little bit mo's all I ask for the bubble though. Currently, learning about a new type of currency. Burning the dollar down like an emergency. Urgently, listen, my friends have been urging me. Coins have been surging, we're earning like surgency. We on a mission, man. Crypto maniac. Act like you don't really know about it. Stop that. Bitcoin blowing up like a bomb. Step back. Used to be a couple $100. Should've copped that. Blew up on a scene from the mind of a brainiac. Back in 2009, where the miners at? Silk Road, baby, it's gotta be anonymous. Satoshi blew up, now we on the map. Crypto gang, the game, big gang, all gang, light gang, cash game, blockchain, whoa. I don't really ever buy stocks, man. No. Haters wanna say I'm in a bubble, man. No. Chew them up like bubble gum. No. Just made a meal with my pocket change. No. Wreck about to go and join the hodl gang. Hodl Huddle gang, huddle gang, huddle gang. Everybody looking at me now and they're shocked now cause the price going down. Meanwhile, I'ma cop more at a discount with a smile cause I'm making money on the altcoins right now. I'ma double down like animal style's up now. People in the crowd, they watching me bubble up now. Open up a brand new Coinbase account and I'm buying everything from Ripple to Litecoin now. Pull out my principle, keep it real simple, then play with the house. Investing in crypto, I'm chasing these coins like they cheese to a mouse. I'm on the verge of a digital currency, emerging technologies. This is the future, so obviously I'm all in. There's no bottom, we hodl it now. Hodl gang, hodl gang, hodl gang, hodl gang, hodl gang, hodl gang, hodl gang. Throw your hands in the air, man, if you down with the blockchain. I ain't got time for the haters, man. We about to grow to 1 million. Hodl gang, hodl gang, hodl gang. Tell me, are you down with the crypto? Hodl gang, hodl gang, hodl gang, hodl gang, hodl gang, hodl gang, hodl gang. Throw your hands in the air, man, if you down with the blockchain. I ain't got time for the haters, man. We about to grow to 1 million. Hodl gang, hodl gang, hodl gang. Tell me, are you down with the crypto?
It is the most powerful technology that the world has seen, I believe, since the invention of agriculture.
Bitcoin is exciting because it shows how cheap it can be. Bitcoin is better than currency.
As with most major technology shifts, let's think about what young people are doing. 32% of young people say they prefer Bitcoin to stocks. 42% of millennial males say they plan to purchase Bitcoin in the next 5 years. We're barely in the first inning right now.
Yeah, buddy. Hodl gang, hodl gang. I'm a little disappointed in y'all, though. I only saw like 2 or 3 of you guys dancing. Come on now. Come on. Who the Mango crew? I know you were breaking it down last night, all right? Come on. I needed to throw a few drinks out there. Chris would have been shaking then. All right, cool. So, crypto. I mean, I put this slide up here for a reason. It says looking for freedom. I'm kind of staying with that theme. I mean, America, freedom, right? My Bitcoin is in the flag. And the reality is financial freedom, right? And when it comes to crypto, one of the reasons I personally love it is that you have complete freedom with your money, right? You have access to do whatever you want with it. There's no central authority. There's no central bank. There's no, whatever, traditional bank telling you what you can and can't do. Philip, do I sound okay? I'm getting like kind of an echo feedback thing. I'm good? All right, as long as everyone else hears me good, I don't care what I sound like to me. The things that go on in my head are ridiculous anyway, so. Anywho, moving along. Let's see if I can work this year. I can. Jackpot. So, what I want to talk about is what the F happened in 1971, because a lot of that has to do with why crypto exists now, and also why all this inflation that everyone else was talking about, like Sam earlier before lunch was talking about inflation, and why real estate pretty much never goes down. It's because of inflation, just like he said. And inflation, for all the good things it brings, it also, has, I guess, some negatives in terms of what it forces you to do. So that is, and yes, I just showed you a chart. I know, you hate me already. Charts are boring. Cumulative inflation from 1913 to 2015. Do you see what is going on? You see the hockey stick? Remember they were talking about hockey stick earlier? Walters mentioned hockey stick. Sam mentioned hockey stick. So things were bouncing along. Inflation was up 50 to 100% per decade all through the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. I mean, heck, it even went down a little bit during the Great Depression, which obviously was not a fun time for anybody. And then all of a sudden, boom, here we go. The new regime of investing. The reason why the baby boomers are the richest generation in history, because they were in the prime of all this, right? So, cool, inflation, that's great. At this point, inflation come 2022 is 2,900% since 1913. So basically, a $10 item now costs $2,923. So we want that working in our favor, right? Because things we buy are just going to cost more. Our dollar's going to go, not as far. But does anyone know why all this popped off in 1971? What's the big change that happened in 1971? There you go. We went off the gold standard, right? So, I mean, speaking of gold, I have a gold Bitcoin. This is not an actual Bitcoin. Bitcoin's digital currency. Now, I don't know why they ship these to you in these little baggies, because like the whole connotation about Bitcoin being for like criminals, this doesn't help. Like seriously, this bag does not make anyone think of anything that's legal. It's not good. Anyway, my dude, who gave me the correct answer first, come on up and get your shiny Bitcoin. I'm not giving it to you in the little baggie though. I do not promote bad things. There it is, brother. Heck yeah. So, good old inflation. When it comes to inflation, I mean, one of the big proponents of that is that the US dollar can be printed at will, right? We've seen that, especially the last 2 to 3 years. So when it comes to inflationary versus deflationary, it's like US dollar. Total supply. Infinity, we will print all we want. And the Fed basically did that when COVID hit. And in 2020, 2021, roughly like a third of all US dollars that are in existence in history were created in that 2-year period. And we wonder why we have inflation now. Everyone that's complaining about, what is this 8-9% inflation? Gas keeps going up. My milk's like $75 a gallon. And damn it, now they're raising interest rates, which, I mean, anyone that knows me in this room knows I'm also a real estate investor. And yeah, it sucks locking in these mortgages at these higher rates. Ironically, though, historically, we're not even high yet. 7% mortgage is still historically low. We were just utterly spoiled for a good 10, 15 years. So hopefully you were able to lock in as many mortgages as you could in that time. If not, well, you should have joined Alchemist Nation 3 years sooner. So hashtag your fault. Anyway, total supply of Bitcoin, because that's what we're here to talk about. 21 million coins. Do we see the difference? Right now, just over 19 million Bitcoins exist. They're out, they've been mined, so there's only not even 2 million left. So what does that create? That creates scarcity with the limited supply. Now what's better is we jammed out to the HODL gang. Well, a lot of the HODL gang is holding Bitcoin that's never ever going to go back in circulation. I'm actually technically meet that requirement. So like Walter knows, I have what I call my forever coin. So most of my Bitcoin I have worked, I have it staked, it earns me interest, it's pretty awesome. But I have one Bitcoin that I put in what's called a cold wallet that is stored away, not online, and I am never, ever, ever going to sell it. I want to hold it for life because I want to be part of the one Bitcoin hodler club. So that will just get passed on to who knows who when I'm just gone and dust in the wind. So me and people like me are already taking coin off the market. In addition to that, you have the people, and I feel bad for them, but at the same time, I mean, stupid is as stupid does. So all those stories about people that, oh, I had this computer and I had Bitcoin on it, I don't know how to get it, and blah, blah, blah. Like, those coins are gone. There's millions of coins that basically are, you know, part of those stories. So again, more limited supply, more scarcity, right? In addition to that, when it comes to Bitcoin, right, we hear about Bitcoin miners. Well, they don't mine for free, right? They're mining to make money. They get Bitcoin when they basically mine a block. Every roughly 4 years, because it's based on when you hit a certain block, every 4 years or so, the reward gets cut in half, which is further limiting supply that's coming online. Now, in order for it to be profitable for a miner to mine Bitcoin, the value of it has to be high enough. So if that supply that they're getting, right, the amount they're rewarded keeps getting cut in half, then for it to be worth their while, the price of Bitcoin needs to be higher. So it's just interesting how these things are naturally built in. It's like, it's a deflationary aspect for the coin supply, which creates an inflationary aspect to the value and the price. So these are just some of the basic, like, kind of like economic dynamics on the way Bitcoin works with just supply and demand. Unlike the US dollar, like that I said, can be printed all day long. But this doesn't really answer the question for you. What the heck is Bitcoin? I still don't know what it is and what it does. Hashtag that's my book. Shameless plug. Amazon, excuse me, had to clear my throat. You know what, speaking of the book, so I got a question. I actually can see some of the lanyards. Where are my new alchemist, the new mastery members? Raise all your hands high. All right. Hello, my future millionaires. It's nice to meet you. Very good job. Now, who's the people that very much are like how I used to be and are still wishy-washy, waffling on, should I do this? Is it going to help me? Is it going to get me where I want to go? Is anyone brave enough to raise their hand? Oh my God, we actually have people that are brave enough to raise. I didn't think anyone was going to do it. Holy shit, that worked. Wait, that happened. All right. Well, I'm going to tell you what. Somehow I managed, and I don't know how, because we gave out so many books. I managed to steal a copy of mine. Don't tell Dorina. So, I literally have one copy left of my Bitcoin book, and for those that don't know me, I actually wrote a real estate investing book about 5 years ago, because that's how I got started. So even though I love crypto, just like you guys, it's all about also real estate, all right? Diversification. I'm going to tell you something that my accountant said to me that has literally stuck with me since he said it, and more so because I think it was personal to me. I'm really good at diversifying. I'm really good at not losing money. But you got to get the money first. So when you do that, you got to be a little more targeted, a little more aggressive. So concentrated bets is for making money. Diversification is for keeping money. Remember that, because it is so spot on. Anyway, I digress. So any of you people that are still waffling on whether you should do mastery or not, the first two people that meet me in the back of the room when I get off this stage, you have a choice of one of these books. And, oh wait, I think I have more. I'm pulling gold out of my pockets. And I'll give you one of these shiny Bitcoins. So, come talk to me so you can ask me, I don't know if I should do this. How is it going to get me where I'm going to be? And I'm going to tell you point blank whether it will or not, because I don't really give a damn. I'm just honest. I have this problem of transparency. It gets me in trouble sometimes. I wasn't born with a filter, apparently. So, let's actually talk about what the heck Bitcoin is, though. Yes, it's this dumb. A decentralized digital currency you can buy and sell directly without using an intermediary, first day of my new tongue, like a bank. Basically, it goes back to what I said earlier. It gives you freedom with your money. I have full control, which scares people, right? Because they don't want full control, because if they make a boo-boo, there's no call the tech support, or it's not FDIC insured, right? So, like they said in, what was that, Spider-Man? With great power comes great responsibility. That literally holds true with crypto. And it's, I'll admit it, like, I've sent money to the crypto gods. So is Walter. In fact, Walter was actually trying to send crypto to one of my wallets for something I was helping him with, and he sent it to what is called the contract address for the actual coin, meaning that money is gone and is never going to be found by him. We've all done it, but so many deals. But this is why we teach people, about crypto and how it works, because what's crazy is it's actually not that complicated. I kind of love when I see the light bulb go off for people, because it's like, what is this, like, guerrilla math algorithm? I'm like, you don't need to know any of that at all. Like, it's kind of like the equivalent of, like a light switch, right? Like, I'm in real estate. I know how to flip the light on and off. Am I going to wire a switch or know how it works? No freaking clue. I don't want to know. That's what my partner's for. That's what my electrician's for. I don't do that. I mean, I'm not as bad as Bill's guy with the can't screw in a light bulb. That's a whole nother level. But anyway, so we're going to literally just glaze over what runs Bitcoin, because all this technology is run by something called a blockchain. Now, I want to say blockchain 3 times because it's kind of like Beetlejuice with Melanie Santos is going to literally fall asleep when I say blockchain 3 times. You ready? Blockchain, blockchain, blockchain. And the eyes glaze over. What? You say it to me every time. Anywho, this is what runs it all, the blockchain. It's actually super simple in terms of the way it operates and functions. It's literally what you see. It's a series of blocks that are chained together, right? And the beauty is the simplicity. So you look at the screen, you see block 0, block 1, block 2. In the first block, there's something called a hash. All the hash is the label for that block. It identifies that block. It's a random alphanumeric label It's just random. It's randomly generated. Now, when you go to the next block, what happens is it also gets a hash. It gets its identifier. But if you can see, it's probably a little blurry, but the previous hash from block 0 is in block 1. That is essentially how the chain is created. It is really that simple. And it keeps pushing forward and forward and forward. The beauty of that, I literally just saw Mel shake her head. She still doesn't get it. That is how all this stays connected and how all the data is available. So like you could get to block 157, and that block goes all the way back to block 0. So when you look at block 157, in theory, you have all the data for that block all the way back to the genesis block, which is block 0. So this makes this what? It makes it a ledger that's transparent, right? It makes it, well, so here's the thing. Up top, you see open source, open ledger, and trustless. So the open ledger means it's basically transparent based on the fact that it's all connected, it's all open source. The technology is available to anybody. So if you, for some reason decided, I want to try and buy, get Bitcoin, I'm going to mine and all the things, and I have, my buddy's got a solar farm I can connect to and get free electricity, and you could do it, because all you have to do is basically download the Bitcoin ledger, which is called a node. So right now, there's over 15,000 people running a Bitcoin node. All a Bitcoin node is basically someone mining Bitcoin. They've downloaded the Bitcoin ledger, so to speak, and they're running the same ledger that the other 15,000 people are running. Now, the beauty in this is that there's no centralized authority, which means there's no centralized point of failure, which means there is no central authority to tell you what you can and can't do. So if I am mining Bitcoin and a hurricane comes through Southwest Florida and takes out my server, the Bitcoin blockchain doesn't come to a screeching halt. It's going to continue because one of the other 15,000 people running a Bitcoin node are validating the same ledger that I was validating, which also basically means I can't create a fraudulent block. Yes, I've said that word before. Because none of the other miners or node validators are going to approve that. It's like, this doesn't match up with what we have. So everyone's basically going to give you a big frowny face and say, go away. So this is how you can have something that is open source, doesn't have a central authority, yet still operate and still have validity and not have fraud just running rampant throughout it. So the little diagram there with the globe and the servers all around, if you think about Google, right, no matter where you've been in the world, you search something on Google, you get an answer in a fraction of a second, right? The reason you can do that is because Google has servers all over the world. But if their servers go down, you might have issues in certain regions. Does anyone remember, what was it, last year? Facebook actually conked out, their main servers went out. I think it was right before the summit last year, because I remember teasing Walter about it because he couldn't Facebook for 5 hours, and he was literally shaking. I'm like, bro, is that sweat on your forehead? I've never seen your forehead sweat. I didn't think that thing, it's shiny, but I've never seen it sweat. It's glistening. But anyway, that can't happen with Bitcoin, or really any, decentralized blockchain. Because let's not get it twisted. This blockchain technology is good for a lot of things. There's major corporations that use it. IBM uses blockchain technology for their logistics. But it's a centralized operation. They do with it what they want. They use it for their own purposes. They're in control of it. It's on their servers in their server farm. So if they have an outage in their server farm, their blockchain comes to a screeching halt. So this is, again, why I love decentralization. So instead of that being like Google, all those little computers around the world are people like you and me mining Bitcoin. And that's what keeps it chugging along. Now, the decentralization is what allows us and has allowed us to evolve with the web. So up there it says Web 3.0, and there's a whole lot of information on that slide that I don't remember being that busy. We started with Web 1.0. Back in the 90s, if anyone remembers, just static web pages. You went on a page, you consumed information, that was it. There was no interaction. Then Web 2 launched in the early 2000s with, Facebook. Well, hold on. Who remembers MySpace? Right? Dude, I would change my music like every 3 days on my page. Oh my God. I remember at one point I had like, what was it? You remember the Karate Kid? You're the best around. I would be like, let's do this. I had that on my page. That one might have lasted for a week because I was so amped up about it. But anyway, when Web 2 came out and we started doing the social media thing, it was like, oh, this is fun. I get to interact with my friends, and then, I'm going to post things. And what none of us realized is we're creating all the content that is on these sites. Like Facebook, Twitter, they don't create anything. We create all the content. They make all the money. And we basically agreed to create all their content in exchange for little hearts and likes. That is the most genius business plan ever by them. And we all got screwed. Hearts and likes to create everything on your website. So now, with the advent of crypto and the blockchain, we have what is Web 3.0. And Web 3.0 is beautiful because it's decentralized, and now the contributors own their content, and they can be compensated and rewarded for their content. So the reason this happens is because of crypto wallets, which we don't have a whole hour to get into crypto wallets, but part of crypto wallets is basically digital keys, and a digital key is really your signature to everything you own in regards to kind of like the crypto world. So because of that, we now can say, hey, this is my content, and I can be rewarded for this content. And that has led us to these different sites. So I put a couple examples up there, LeoFinance.io, Hive.blog. There's many, many others. But these are Web3 social media sites. So that screenshot is literally a screenshot of the homepage with me logged in. I got my little scaredy cat icon on the corner. It shows my login, scaredy cat guide. And that's just showing like popular posts and latest posts. That's like the main page when you go to Leo Finance. That is a social media site that caters towards crypto, finance, investing. Everyone on there is talking about crypto, talking about even real estate, talking about business, and that's kind of its niche. It's sort of like it almost feels like Seeking Alpha on a blockchain. If anyone's familiar with the website Seeking Alpha, where you have contributors putting content about stocks and things like that. This is similar except for it's slanted to crypto. The beauty about this though is if you look, you'll see there's little icons and there's a little heart. So like if you vote on something, right, you get your little heart lights up. The difference is I earn crypto when people give me little hearts because that crypto is worth money. This site in particular, I earn what's called Leo tokens. And I can obviously sell those Leo tokens if I want into regular money. So the same stuff that I'm posting on Facebook for free, I'm also posting on Leo Finance and getting crypto. So that is also a way to invest in crypto without actually have to, like we always talk about like real estate with no money. Well, this is how you can invest in crypto with no money. If you're someone that likes to create content, you can go on here, contribute, people will vote on it, and you can earn some crypto. So that's, takes the risk factor completely off the table for everyone that's scared of crypto because it's volatile. Anyway, so I always do a big segment for this because I know people have tons of questions when it comes to crypto. I already saw Kevin raising his hand earlier. I'm like, slow down, bro. We're not there yet. Not there yet. And I put myself a little reminder because Walter prodded me about doing a crypto market prediction because he does his, real estate prediction. Oh, yes, I hate doing predictions. No, that's not going to work, Phil. It's not going to work. I'm an Italian from New York, and I'm a Taurus. There's no more stubborn. Anywho, oh my God, yeah, there you go. Lights out. I no longer get to go to heaven. Phil is God right now. The crypto prediction actually is a great segue into something that we should talk about before that, and it's really about risk and reward. So one of the reasons that I really like crypto right now in terms of the price level it's at, even if it was to go down lower, I really actually don't care. In fact, most people that know me think I'm nuts because I'm rooting for it to go lower because I want to buy it cheaper. But right now, Bitcoin's at roughly around 19,000. right? So if you want to get one full Bitcoin, it's 19,000. Obviously, you don't need to. You can throw $100 into it and get a fraction of a coin. But when it comes to investing in anything, but especially like stocks, crypto, commodities, anything like that, volatile, paper assets, you really want to pay attention to risk reward. And I read a book, Tony Robbins did a book where he interviewed like all these top money managers. One of which was Ray Dalio, who's like my investing hero. He had run like the biggest hedge fund in the world for a long time until he finally like stepped away and retired. But him and all these like top money managers over like the last 10, 20, 30 years, mainly like hedge fund guys, they all had this one thing in common. And it's that they didn't invest in anything that didn't give them at a minimum 4-to-1 on risk and reward. So basically, they needed to potentially make 4 times as much as they could lose for them to get in. And any single time that they got into like a rut or something like that, it was because they were getting into things that didn't give them that risk reward. So, and most of them aimed for 5-to-1, but they said bare minimum 4, I won't break that threshold. But most of them always hit 5. But 4 was like, it's got to be 4 or better for me to even consider it. So I want you to keep that in mind when you think about investing in stocks or you think about investing in crypto. So, when I look at crypto right now, I see how far, we've come down. I also see how high we are. I remember back when we first broke 10,000 in Bitcoin, and then, it pulled down to 4, and all these people that would tell me, oh, I wish I would have bought it, when at 10K, because it had gone up to 20. Then when it got back to 10K, they didn't like, oh, I'm not buying it, it's going down. I'm like, huh? Like, what do you wanted it at 10, it's back at 10. And even though it did go down to 4, it then went up to 63 and change was the all-time high. So imagine if you had bought at 10 when it gave you that second chance. Like, people got a second opportunity. So I just continue to look at the risk and reward. And right now, with Bitcoin being at 19, like, I've been nibbling and adding to it. And I'm hoping it goes down because I want to buy a crap ton if it gets down to like 13, 14,000. That's like literally the back up the truck price for me, not financial advice. So I don't care that I'm buying at 19 because if it goes down, so be it. My ultimate risk is 19,000 points. What is my upside? Well, I know it's probably at least 63 because that's the all-time high, but you have large financial institutions like Fidelity with $1 million targets on Bitcoin. I'm like, oh, it's going to get to 100K. They're talking about $1 million. So I feel pretty comfortable with my 100K. So I'm like, all right, well, if I buy at 20, it goes to 100, I can times, oh yeah, that risk reward works. So that's how I look at it. And my prediction is my risk reward is good enough for the top money managers in the world, so it's good enough for me. I do believe that it will see 100K at some point as we keep getting more and more scarcity, as more comes offline, so to speak, as more Bitcoin gets lost, as less is mined, as each block moves forward. But in the end, I think inflation is also a big piece of this because the reason we invest in real estate, the reason we invest in stocks, commodities, precious metals, right, and I own all these things, is because of inflation. Sam Prim said it earlier. Real estate does not go down in the long term. The reason it doesn't go down is because of that hockey stick chart we were looking at earlier. Inflation, that's the reason real estate goes up. In fact, real estate actually is one of the best things that go up with inflation along with everything else. Because me and Walter were nerding out looking at that history in terms of inflation and real estate, and it actually surprisingly does well during inflationary periods, which we're going to be in for a while because anyone that thinks that we're going to get back to this 2-3% targeted inflation in like the next 2 years or something, it's probably delusional because if you look at any research, it generally takes almost a decade for inflation to come back down and for us to get down to that like 2 to 3% like targeted rate. So we'll see how things play out. We'll see how much the Fed keeps raising. But all of this is just making more people excited about cryptocurrency because they're tired of their money being manipulated, which is essentially what's been going on now for 50 years, right? Earlier we said, came off the gold standard in 1971. So it's been just over 50 years since we started this experiment. Like, most people just think about money and the way it works, right? And like, this is what we do. It's a 50-year experiment. all this started in 1971 when we were able to basically float the currency and then print out of thin air. So do we actually know that this works? Do we actually know that this is the best way? I'm not sure. I mean, look at all the booms and busts. Is that supposed to happen? Is that normal? So I don't know if that, you don't see a change. Maybe it's not in our lifetime, but I think crypto is giving people that control that they're looking for, that feeling of I have now, some power over my money, So something to keep in mind. Anyway, I will get to Q&A because I know there's questions. So let's do it. Kevin, I saw you itching earlier, so we'll start with you. If you ask me about a specific coin, I'm going to jump off the stage and come after you. Now he's just getting greedy. He wants 2 questions. You know I'm long-winded, right? I can hear you, though. I'll repeat whatever you say if they don't got you. It's broken. You broke it, Frank. We gave you one job. One job. I love it.
Yeah. All right. It's all right. I can use
Are we good? I thought it just
Is it?
came on.
Oh,
There we go. We
okay.
got it. Too many mics. You had to guess.
So 2 questions. First one, with the nodes, how fast does that information travel? Because you mentioned,
It depends on the blockchain.
Okay.
So, one of the things I love about Bitcoin is, I personally call it digital gold because it fits all the aspects of what, physical gold kind of does. It's slow, it's clunky, and it's sort of archaic. I mean, the Bitcoin blockchain is the first blockchain. It's what started all of this. So transaction times with Bitcoin are pretty slow. I mean, they have, the Lightning Network or whatever that's supposed to speed things up. But in the end, Bitcoin blocks generally process, every 10 minutes. But that can vary. I mean, there was this crazy moment a couple weeks ago where a block didn't produce for almost an hour. And again, this is why I love Bitcoin as a store of value in the digital world, and that's how I look at it. You have other blockchains, for instance, earlier I showed you Leo Finance and Hive.blog. Leo Finance runs on the Hive blockchain. The Hive blockchain has 3-second transaction times with no transaction fees either. It's a little different setup. You need to have resource credits, but those aren't something that you essentially have to pay for. You're not paying transaction fees every time you do it, something. Anytime you make a transaction or you, whatever, you can do a post. Anytime you do anything on the blockchain, technically, there's a transaction fee with, the Ethereum blockchain. You pay what is called a gas fee. So every time you do something on the Ethereum blockchain, you pay a little bit of Ethereum as a gas fee. So every blockchain is different. Maybe some people saw it that are kind of into the financial industry. There was a big thing with Ethereum where they converted the type of blockchain they were to basically be a quicker, more nimble, cheaper fee blockchain because they were previously like Bitcoin. So even though it was better, it was still kind of clunky and super expensive on the fees to do transactions. So, like I said, the answer is it depends on the blockchain. Bitcoin's the slowest. They keep getting faster and faster. Hive's one of the fastest. There's some that are allegedly even faster. And then more and more blockchains keep coming out. It kind of reminds me of the internet boom where you have just all these technologies coming out. And it's all right, well, who's going to be the one that everyone gravitates to and who's going to be the best one, right? And we're still in that game because we're only 10 years into all this. So like he said in the Hodl Gang video, we're only in the first inning.
So, because does it travel to multiple places at once? For instance, the example you mentioned earlier, let's say you had I don't know what it is, a server or mining place in Southwest Florida. Good pal Ian comes in, rips it up, but it's
freaking Ian.
It's freaking Ian. It's in, you said 15,000 others also have that information. Because what I'm thinking in terms of real estate. Say you have a deed, right?
Ooh, I think I know where this question's going. Hold on. Can I just jump ahead and see if I'm right?
Yeah.
All right, so here's the beauty about the blockchain, right? It's kind of like the opposite of Vegas. What happens on the blockchain stays on the blockchain, all right? Yeah, you're screwed. So don't put on anything on the blockchain when you're in Vegas. No. So everyone's running that same ledger, right? So it doesn't matter what happens to, servers, let's say in Southwest Florida, right, if they got wiped out, because everyone's running that same blockchain. So let's say you and I did a transaction back in 2015, right? That information is still on the blockchain. Let's say I sent you Bitcoin. I'm not going to send you Bitcoin. But let's just say I sent you. I love you, Kevin, but I don't love you that much.
Come on.
I got actually I got to reimburse you for some drinks the other night. No, these days are over.
I'll take crypto.
Exactly. Well, you could. It's like, you know, people Venmo. It's like, I could send you crypto. It's like, here's for the drinks, bro. Crazy night.
Love it.
Let's not ever do that again. What's this tattoo? So, if I sent you Bitcoin to your crypto wallet, let's just say, you know, back in 2015, that is always on the blockchain. So let's just say it's sitting in your crypto wallet, you've never done anything with it. Let's say you actually lost access to your crypto wallet. In theory, you could still access your Bitcoin because it's sitting on the blockchain. All the information is on the blockchain. Like our crypto wallets we use to have access to our crypto, but the information is actually sitting on the blockchain. So it's always there, that's how it's recorded, and again, there's so many people running the same ledger.
But what if, like, the information, like, because, you know, mistakes happen. Like, what if the information's wrong and it shoots out to multiple people? Like, is there somebody that verifies it, or is it just...
I mean, there's not really something like, well, one, nothing's really going to shoot out to multiple people, I guess, because it's really a lot of peer-to-peer. I mean, you got to send it from, you know, you got to send it to a specific address, right? I mean, you could obviously send transaction, like, something to a bunch of people. If I have one Bitcoin, I'm going to send it to, like, a tenth to 10 people. I guess I'm sending something to a bunch of different people.
I'm thinking like record keeping.
Yeah, I mean, if like, because I think blockchain technology eventually will be great for real estate, right? But yeah, it's like garbage in, garbage out. I think that's not going to be a thing because they're going to use smart contracts for that, which I can't even get into now because Walter will drag me off stage. But yeah, so I'm trying to think of an example, like in terms of like incorrect information. I don't know. I think it would just be rectified with another transaction. Because basically, like I said, what happens on the blockchain stays on the blockchain. Like, so it's always there. I mean, and it's transparent, it's mutable, and that's what makes it beautiful. But yeah, in order to rectify something, I don't think you would basically like hit it with the whiteout. I think you would just do a transaction.
Another transaction.
To rectify. So,
Okay.
yeah, because it's just there, which is, again, why I like it. There's no hiding. There's no cooking the books. And remember, like, who's old enough to remember Enron? Like, Enron cannot happen on the blockchain. It's transparent. So that's also a win when it comes to blockchain. Chong, what's up? He needs a mic. And 2 turntables and a microphone.
I have 2 questions I hope will fast.
Kevin, you started a precedent. See what happens. You let one person do it.
I think you'll be intrigued with this. The first one, I have a friend that used to do a lot of mortgages, and he feels that crypto is the way of the future for doing title, because there's so many different types of crypto designed for many purposes, right?
Yes.
And his analogy is like when you're looking for a Carfax, it's instant. Do title search, it could be weeks. And he said this would be really cool. It's something that he's working toward. How do you feel about that?
I mean, yes. Like,
Right.
hell yeah. I don't know, I feel like I should have been more excited. No, I'm like, you're preaching to the choir right now. I've been all about real estate title, getting on a blockchain ASAP. But I also know reality. Changes aren't delayed by technology. Changes are delayed by people, right? I mean, people are the driver to everything, the value of things, like people. And you need this like psychological change, and also like people are threatened. Like think about all the people business-wise where their business would be threatened by title going on a blockchain, right? It's not even good for like municipalities, right? It's like because A, it's more efficient, so that just means less money right there. And I mean, think about big oil. Like, really, should we be using oil as much as we use it to this day, or is it because big oil has so much money and just does lobbying and all that stuff, right? So it takes generations to change things. And I think that's a big piece of what's going to happen with crypto and the blockchain is that it's going to have to get to the point where, like, you know, people that are like 15 years old, 10 years old, things like that, right, when they're leaders of our country because they grow up with digital currency, right? And think about this, too. This is kind of the last thing I'm going to leave with you is when it comes to investing, and it comes to something like a new asset. Like, think about it. Like, cryptocurrency is a new asset for the 21st century, right? We've had new ones created all throughout time. This is the newest one. And I know one thing, like, when I was in my late 20s and I was looking to diversify, I was like, oh, let me get some, gold and some silver, because I don't want to just own stocks, right? Me and Walter own silver. Hell, he went on his, like, crazy silver collection, posted it on Facebook, and then he kind of got tired of it. But in the end, like, if you, like, find, like, a 12-year-old or a 15-year-old, and, like, in 10, 15 years, when they're ready to buy something besides stocks, are they going to be buying physical gold? Like, no, they're going to be buying crypto, because they're growing up in the digital era. Like, everything's on their phone. Like, they do have something like, there's teenagers that don't even have laptops. Everything's on their phone, and everything's digital, right? So they're going to be buying digital currencies, because that's normal to them. So this is why everything takes so long. And this is why I think your buddy is 100% correct, but I think it's just going to take longer than we expect, because it's not about waiting for the technology, it's about waiting for people and society to catch up. And this holds true because, fun fact, the internet, everyone thinks about the 90s for the internet. The first instances of the internet were in the late 1960s. Stanford University, and I believe it was UCLA, tried to do the first, like, transaction. It failed, but it got things started. And then 30 years later, the internet became popular. Like I said, we're only 10, 12 years into crypto. So, I mean, if this becomes more, commonplace and ubiquitous over the next 10 years even, that's at light speed compared to the age of the internet. So, that is what I got for you. I think I got Steve Jobs is asking a question, but Walter's like, we got to get on schedule. Doesn't he look like Steve Jobs?
He does look like Steve Jobs. All right, let's give Mitch Jaworski a round of applause. I know you got a lot of questions for Mitch.